Today I got physically abused at rugby. What we did was a game called Kopistan. So what you do is you set up a little perimeter. So let's just say 10 meters by 15 meters. You get about eight guys on each side, and maybe you guys play football, but basically there's no passing. So when you get the ball, you run a line, and the eight people need to try tackle you and steal the ball from you. And you can only stop running once you've actually fallen to the ground, and your teammates need to ruck over you to like protect the ball and get the ball back. Um, and it's just again the person that gets the ball just runs the line. Like that's all it is. And I got pretty beat up basically, but I learned a lot about rugby. I'd never played rugby in my life before a month ago. I don't watch rugby. My family doesn't watch rugby, that's why. And it got me thinking that there's no real learning without action. It sounds obvious, but when when I look at where I've made the most growth, it was when I challenged myself physically. Uh, it's all good and well meditating and doing some introspection. But at the end of the day, introspection comes from your experience. And if you haven't experienced anything, there's nothing to inspect, you know? I mean, you can look at old philosophers. They may not have um, made a lot of action, but they took examples from people that did. They looked at the world from the outside, what people did, they analyzed them. Their ideas came from action, essentially. You see that a lot with modern day, I want to say gurus, where they've they've put in the hard work. They've done a lot of shit, and therefore have the ability to speak on it. And one way I'm going to try accelerate this growth is to first carry on playing rugby, but take boxing more seriously, start swimming, because you give out physically a lot easier than you give out mentally. So there's a lot more room for growth. You can see where you failed and why you failed. But for example, meditation, right? If you get distracted, to ask why did I distracted? Why did I distracted? Why did I get distracted? It's not easy to answer that, right? Because there's layers to that shit. Like, okay, I thought about my history project. Why did I think about my history project? I'm stressed. Why am I stressed? Because I haven't studied. Like, instead of going through all that, just an example, doing that through meditation, you would have found out you weren't prepared by just taking the test and failing, right? It's almost like a shortcut because there's no layers to that. You make an action, you do an action, and then there's an immediate response. There's failure, right? If you are challenging yourself, there will be failure almost every single time at some stage. And that's just a thought I had. A bit of a waffle video, but if you want to have the experience to analyze yourself, then you just need to get out there and do as much as you can. You need to have a sense of urgency in life. Uh, 3 generations down the line, no one will know me. No one will know you unless you're like the most brilliant man in the world. For example, the only people I can remember today are the ones that led great armies. I feel like that's something that sticks around quite a bit, widely recognized. Um, but for most of us that didn't lead an army will be forgotten sooner or later, and with it, everything we've ever created. So you need to have a sense of urgency because there's only so much you can experience, and there's only so much you can do before you die and you're forgotten. Like it's I know it sounds kind of shitty, but that's how it is. So yeah, that's gonna be my goal for the next however long is to just do as much shit as I can.